We have 4:30.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call to order the Costa Mesa Sanitary District Board of Directors meeting for April 18th, which actually was moved up from the 25th because the board will be in conference in Monterey. If you would all please rise if you're able and join me in saluting the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Vice President Uten, some words of wisdom.
Yes. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Okay. Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Director Nicole Wiltshire. Here. Secretary Arthur Perry.
Here.
Vice President Robert Uten.
Here.
President Mike Schaefer.
Here, thank you. No announcements or late communications this
No,
evening
Mr.
from
President.
anyone? All right, we'll move to public comments. This is the time for anyone in the audience who would like to speak on items not on the agenda, but within the purview of the Costa Mesa Sanitary District Board of Directors. And Ms. Piltz, is that correct? If you would go to the microphone, you're up.
Here today just because I live in Eastside Costa Mesa, close to the Lindbergh School on Orange and 23rd. We have the sanitation department come down every Wednesday, all three of our trash cans, the green, the blue, and then the standard. In the past, they have dropped hydraulic oil all the way down the street. It is so thrashed, it looks terrible. And we are a private PUD, a planned urban development. Shea Homes built that small 25 homes in 2006. So the homes are new. It's all paved, little cobblestone streets. And the truck goes down. It looks like graffiti all the way down. I have videos I'm happy to give to you. And they've sent someone out before, but he drops, some white powder to absorb it. But it still looks absolutely terrible. And we all pay close to $20,000 per year for property taxes. And the kids play on the street. Like I say, we don't get sanitation every week. We don't have that luxury, but we do get the trash trucks coming down. And I really feel like the sanitation should be responsible for cleaning our street up. And I'd like someone to come out and do a site review. And you could see it's clearly down the center of the street. And like I say, I've got videos that I'm happy to supply to you the day that they drop the oil all the way down.
Can I ask you just a quick question?
Please.
You said you don't get sanitation every week, but you get
We have trash pickup, but we don't have the street sweeping
Oh.
service, is what I meant to say.
City, that's a city.
have you notified the city of that part of it?
Well,
And let me qualify that. We'll take care of that. Because street sweeping is always the day after the trash pickup,
but they don't come down our street because it's a private,
because it's a private.
yes,
I know your street. I'm
I'm good.
familiar.
good. It's a
and-
lovely street. It's a very nice street.
Yeah, you have a very nice complex. Would you provide staff with those pictures and videos? Because what we will do, and if I'm speaking out of turn to staff, I apologize, but I'm gonna do it anyway. We will contact CR&R, our trash vendor, notify them of the problem because that's where it's coming from.
I mentioned, if you wouldn't mind, they did come out before already, but it's definitely not satisfactory. Just to drop some powder on the street is really not enough. It needs to be scrubbed. I mean, I almost want to get out there with Simple Green and a power washer. It just really doesn't look right at all.
We'll address that with our vendor and make sure that whatever we can mitigate, we will
I
certainly.
would appreciate it so much. I don't know. We don't know who to call. It's CNR did send someone out, but the job was not satisfactory. And I really think we should have someone do a site review with us before and after.
we can probably do that.
We'll send staff out there. In fact, the lines will give you my business card. You can send all that information to me. If you give me your phone number and your address, and I'll have someone of my staff reach you. Okay.
So much.
You,
That's-
and when it comes to you don't know who to call, you can always call us. I mean, we're the agency responsible for sewer and trash, so we'll be glad to intervene with our vendor to make sure it's
I
taken care
hope
of.
that these maintenance trucks are being maintained, you know? I mean, you can't really see it when you're going down Orange or 23rd and it's just black asphalt. But when you have orange cobblestone street, it really shows. And they're big spots, not just little dribbles. It's, you know,
Well, we appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
What's the name of your street?
Half Moon Lane. We're on the corner of Orange and
Right off of
23rd. It's a
Orange.
Shea Home Development built in 2006.
Good, thanks.
Nice.
Yeah.
We agree with you on that.
Thank you. And I'll get that if I can get.
Nolani's got the card. Thank you again. For Joan Parks, though.
Oh, okay, I know, I've been there picking up stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Thank you. Thank you to staff. Okay, any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting and try to get my agenda to move here on the computer. That's what we're gonna try to do anyway. Oh, here we go. Consent calendar, all matters will be enacted in one motion unless anyone from staff or the public or the board has an item to pull. Seeing no one requesting an item to be pulled, do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
I have a second, but I'd like to make a comment
Yes,
after we
sir.
vote. Well, after we vote.
After we vote?
I'm for all of the items, but
So I'll call for the vote. All
Aye.
those in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion to approve the consent calendar passes unanimous. Director Uden.
yeah, if you look at number 7, you can see that, if you look at it month by month, you can see that the recycling tonnage is going up little by little. So I know we started this back in October, so it is timely. It's important that we get the city, the staff, the citizens to recycle because it's significantly less cost per ton for the recycled material. So anyway, just a comment.
That's good comment.
Well, we expect that tonnage to, as people get more used to what's
Yeah.
going in that blue can, I would hope it goes out.
Well, it is, in the last couple of months, I looked at it.
And
It is.
the green can too, those two.
And the green can, yeah. Okay. All right. Public hearings, we have none. General manager, you have nothing to tell us this
Report.
month?
Been at light today.
You'll have to make it up in September. Mark Esker, district engineer. please.
Honorable Board, good evening. How's everybody? I got a few projects to speak on and then I'll go on to my next item, but just to bring you up to speed, item number 4, if you look at the front page of my report, item number 4, 341 Eldon Force Main, we just finished 60% drawings. I provided a copy to the city engineer and Mike Benish from RBH and Associates and I will be meeting with them next week, probably Wednesday, to go over the projects and see if they have any comments. The last comment on that is that by the end of this month, we'll have a set of drawings that we could submit to the state of California. I know Scott's been interested in a set of drawings to submit and we'll be ready. I won't be signing them because I won't sign them until just before we bid the project, but they're close enough to be complete set of drawings for the state of California as far as the grant application is going. So we'll be ready by the end of the month to provide a set of drawings to the state of California. Project 346, it's currently called Harbor Generator, but this year I plan to change the title to Harbor Overflow Edition. Our consultant has been working on that and I'll be reviewing a set of project drawings next month. And that project, as you recall, has to do with providing an overflow from our harbor pump station, which goes easterly along Wilson, across harbor, and we'll dump it into our gravity sewer that's on the east side of Harbor from, our pump station over there. The 347 Eldon Order project is done. Everything's real good. We've had some really hot weather, and I think this week we'll test the odor scrubber again, but so far no complaints from either the golf courses or the neighbors. So I think the scrubber has really been doing really good job of keeping the odors at bay. And we actually have vacuum on the wet well, so that's really helpful. Project 349 A Mendoza sewer extension, that's complete. I reviewed the 349 Mendoza Forest Main redundancy project today. We'll probably be advertising it for bid next week, and we'll start construction perhaps October, early November sometime.
Hey, quick question on
Yep.
Mendoza. I know
Yes.
the city's still working on whatever they're doing on their repaving.
Yeah, I think it was late last week or midweek, they did the grind and pave on Mendoza, which is they deferred their project until that point. So they did all the paving last week. They raised the manholes to grade on Thursday, so we owe them for, I think, 3 frames and covers, raising them to grade, and then they should be striping and doing all that work. I'm gonna say probably this week, maybe next week. I don't know their schedule.
That obviously, it worked out with the concerns we had. You had no issues with anything they did. I mean,
No,
with our work.
everything worked out, and we're good to go. At least the portion that's in Mendoza Drive.
Okay.
So, 354 Eldon fan improvement, that's 99% done. I do need to get the door that's been installed. We need to get that painted, and then that project will be done, and we can do closeout for both the odor scrubber and the fan. And we'll do that at the same time and save Nolani from having to drive out twice to the county recorder's office. And then 505 manhole cover, we are currently bidding, and we're probably going to do an addendum and extend that because there's 20 manholes I want to add to the project. And that'll be for a total of replacing 50 frames and covers throughout our service area. And that will bid open, I think, the middle of September. Project 530 South Coast Plaza Urgent Sewer, 136138, it's completed. We lined that whole 300-foot sewer. It's done, no problems there. We started construction last Thursday night into Friday morning on 530 South Coast Plaza Urgent Sewer 136136. That's a dig and replace, and we've got to dig down about 15 or 20 feet to get to a sewer and get it replaced. So that's starting. We'll probably be done in, I'm going to say, the next 12 calendar days or so. We should be close to being done. Harbor Pump Station, electrical improvements. Pre-construction meeting will be this Wednesday, and we'll be discussing with the contractor how to keep the Irvine Pump Station running during the construction of that electrical panel and replacement of the Edison meter main. So that's going to be an interesting project and a lot of fun for us to take on. So that concludes my report. Are there any questions I can answer or anything that you would like discussed further?
I know this question may be premature because it just happened yesterday, but fair's done.
Hmm?
And in years past, we had some issues sometimes with overflows or things going in the wrong drain. I'm sure you have nothing yet from them on any issues.
I have to, I guess I might look to Scott Carroll, our general manager, but I think John Gonzalez, our wastewater manager, he sent a Vector over one day, a week and a half or so ago. There was some grease buildup in one of the sewers that they noticed, and it was starting to back up a little bit, so we flushed the grease out of the line.
Wait a minute. Grease back up at a fair? Are you
Yeah.
kidding?
But that's the only thing I heard of. But Scott, have you heard of any other issues over at the fairgrounds?
Did they call you or we just did it?
No, they called wastewater staff. So John Gonzalez and I think Jesse Blakely took the call and jumped all over it.
So Chicken Charlie got his revenge.
I think so.
All right, any other questions for Mark? Okay. item
Okay.
2.
Item number 2, this, we want to, well, let me back up and say Centricity GIS LLC, I call them Centricity. They've been doing our work since 2020 on our agency's graphical information system. There's about $50,000 worth of work that we need to get, have them perform for us. One is, since about 2006 to 2009 timeframe, our food, our fats, oil, and grease, and I'll call it our FSE, which is our food service establishment database. It's been housed over at EEC, one of our consultants. They help us manage our FOG system and FSC database. And we want to move all that information and data back over to, well, not back, but to our own servers. And so we'll be migrating that as part of this work. And it's probably going to take a month to actually physically move the data over from them to us. I guess there's a whole system on how to do that. But that's what I'm asking you for today, is to spend $10,000 on a public portal, which will help basically contractors and private citizens to better apply or more easily apply for permits, inspection requests, and easier time of payment, because our public portal by CityWorks, very rudimentary. It doesn't have a lot of capabilities. And in fact, when a public person applies or requests an inspection, it actually gives them a date and a time, but that isn't really their time of when it's going to get inspected, because we have to coordinate with our inspector to get them out there. So we have to make a phone call, undo what the system does to us, and then schedule the actual time with the public. So in order to get past that, we need to install an improved public portal system to our GIS. So what I'm asking for tonight is to approve the amendment to the Centricity GIS LLC Consultant Services Agreement in the amount of $50,000. Before I open it up for questions, our consultant, I believe, is online. Are they online, Nolani?
Yes, this is Chris Krupe. I'm here with Centricity.
I'm going to have Centricity actually show you a public portal and what we're getting for the money that we're paying. I can't show you a database because all it is information that gets ported over. So this is the fun part of what we're going to be doing. So Chris, take it away.
Thank you. I just requested to share my screen. So see who needs to request that. So let me go ahead and do that here. And can you confirm, can you see my screen okay? Should say Centricity demo.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you very much for having me. And once again, I'm the Director of Sales with Centricity. I just wanted to give you a high-level overview of our proposed public portal for you tonight. You'll see here, I'm kind of at a login screen that you can use to log into the district system. If you don't already have a login, you'll see here there's a very easy tab here to register. Just putting your name and address, creating a password, and some basic information, so that once you do start submitting permits to the district, you'll be able to then have access to all of those and do all these various functions about applying for permits, getting updates, scheduling inspections, and so forth. So I've already gone through that process. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll just log in with the username and login that I have already set up. So let me do that here. And so when I go ahead and log into the system, the first thing that you're going to see is this dashboard screen. And so you'll see here, I've got what I'm going to call these dashboard cards across the top, so I can see all of the applications that I'm managing. inspections, fees, and so forth, all across the top here. At the moment here, I've got 8 applications in the system that I'm currently managing. So you'll see below then, here are those 8 applications, and they're all in various statuses over here that you'll note here. You'll also note here that some of these have application numbers and some don't. And this is, one of the improvements over the current portal, in that I have the ability now with the district staff that I can actually review applications prior to them coming into the system. So that way, if I have questions about items, there's information that needs to be corrected, I can actually have a full kind of a pre-submittal review. And that'll really streamline the overall application process here as well. So here, for example, I can see I've got, let's say, this application here in progress. That means I've started it, but I haven't actually submitted it for review. I've got others that have been submitted, but we're waiting for the district to take a look at those and approve those, and actually then allow those to come into the system. And if there were any issues with those submittals, there's a few here that need revisions that I've noted as district staff, that maybe there's changes that need to be made, and others that have been completed or issued and what have you. So I can look at that full list here. I can also look at them through these cards across the top. And once again, looking at all of my recent activity. Now, this is going to be kind of my global view for all of the 8 applications that I've submitted. So I can see reviews for all of my applications, inspections, if there's meetings or hearings that are related to those, I can see that information here. If I just want to look at my applications that are in progress, once again, it's the ones I've started but haven't submitted, I see those here. The ones that have been submitted and are pending district review. These are just the ones that need revision, as I alluded to earlier, and I can go in and make the corrections that need to be done. If they have been accepted, you'll notice that these do have permit or application numbers assigned to them, and I can see the various statuses of those various permits. And I can also see any ones that have been completed or closed here as well. So these are all of my applications, and you can see how I can manage those. I can also do similar things for inspections. So you'll see I've got a few different cards here in green. I've got one inspection that I've requested. Looks like I've requested this inspection to be done coming up this Wednesday. It has not been approved yet by the district, and that's why it's still pending. Once the district does approve that, that would then be in my scheduled tab, and I can see those here. And then I can also see what inspections are available to be scheduled. So based on the workflows, these are inspections that can be requested, and I can go in here and simply click on request. It'll pull up my information that I have here, and then I can choose a date that I want to have that scheduled. I can set up different workflows. So maybe there's certain days that I'm not doing permits or inspections. For example, I don't do them on Saturday and Sunday. It looks like tomorrow, maybe that's a district holiday or something that I don't have any inspections available. Or I can also then look out farther. So if I want to look at, for example, Wednesday, and then we can set up business rules in here for maybe morning appointments, afternoon appointments, specific times of day. And that's all based on district workflows. How do you want to set that up? But you'll see I have the ability to set up all of those different items. And then I also have all of my fees. I can see, fees that I've paid, haven't paid, and I can make those payments through here as well. So this is kind of that global view, managing all of my permits. I can also drill down to just individual permits. So in this case, for example, this one that's been completed. And I'll go ahead and open that up so we can take a look at that. When we take a look at this particular form, what you'll see is it has kind of similar kind of card-based views here that I can look at. But in this particular case, instead of looking at all of my permits, now I'm just looking at this one individual permit instead. So when we refer to recent activity, it's just for this permit in terms of inspections, the status of those, have they passed, are they scheduled? I can see attachments, for example, any attachments that I've uploaded or the district staff have uploaded. I can look at those directly through the portal, or I can download those if I want to as well for reference. All of the people or contacts that are involved here. So the applicant, contractors, there might be an engineer, an architect, whoever else might need to be included here. Once again, fees here, but just at this permit level, what's been paid, what is outstanding. So hopefully, a very user-friendly interface, and I can really see everything that I need to do. Additional tools that are available here, I can clone permits. So if I have the same type of permit that I want to submit again, I don't have to enter all of that information again. I can just clone it and submit all that and save a lot of time in typing. I can also send notes directly in to the district. So if I want to open up a conversation, I want to have a two-way, let's say, interaction to kind of ask questions and so forth, I can do that here as well. And I can also see a full history of everything that's ever been done and the time of each activity. So I can see, where I am in the process and what's been done. I can also include reports. So those can be, in this case, I've got a sample of a fee summary report, just because I want to see maybe all of the fees that I've paid or so forth. But if, let's say, a permit has been issued, they just want to be able to download that completed permit from the portal, they can do that as well. Once again, saving a lot of time and effort. Okay. So this is kind of, like I said, the user interface here that your citizens or contractors would be utilizing. Another big advantage of this portal is I'm going to log out here, go back to that login screen. And this time I'm going to log in as a different user here. So let me go ahead and do that here. Okay, and so when I log in now as this different user, now I'm logging in as a district staff member. So there's really two interfaces to this portal. There is your customer facing portal, and there's also the district or admin portal. And so this is something that is currently not available with the current portal in terms of all of these administrative tools. So in this particular case, you'll see it's a kind of a similar but different looking dashboard. And I can see as a district user all of the applications that are in process. So these are things, for example, if someone started an application, maybe they have a question about it, they call in. I can log in and see exactly what they're seeing so that I can help them walk through the process and complete that permit. And like I said, I have full visibility into what they're looking at. Additionally, I can also see permits that have been submitted here. And when I look at these permits that have been submitted as a district user, then I can go through and I can review everything that they've entered, all of the information about this permit and so forth. But if I have a question about things or things that don't look right, I can simply go in here, I can add comments, I can ask for more information, you can send that information directly to them. And that way, that would then be something that needs revision. So, whether I want to, accept this, deny this, but this is all before it gets into your back office system. Once again, really streamlining the overall workflow so that we can catch a lot of these basic issues or errors before it comes into the system and really kind of streamline the overall time it takes to manage these applications. I can also do things, for example, because I'm a admin, I can move things around. If I want to reorder how my dashboard looks, I can look at all of the applications that have been accepted. I can track the ones that I've noted for revision. And then I can also see all those open inspection requests. So, as Mark had mentioned, one of the big items right now is, in terms of how you're doing your inspection scheduling. Well, with the Centricity portal, we have a separate tool here to actually schedule all of those inspections. And so what I can see here is these are all of the inspections that have been requested. So in this particular case, this is the one we looked at earlier, that one that's being requested for the Wednesday between 8 and 12. And I can see that information here. And so I can have a listing then of these are all of the inspectors that are available. And I can go over to, let's say, Wednesday and see who's available. Looks like everyone is available here. So if I want to just simply take this permit, for example, or this inspection, excuse me, and I want to drop it in, I can go ahead and just drop that in. And I can add that to Joe's work list then. And I can manage all of those different schedules. So this is going to be a very easy way, once I've accepted then that I've put this inspection on the calendar, that'll then notify the applicant that it's now been scheduled for Wednesday, in this case at 11 a.m. So much more streamlined workflow in terms of how you can schedule those inspections here as well. And then finally, what I'd like to do is just kind of show you a real world example. So in this particular case now, what I've done is I've moved over to the city of Boulder City, Nevada. This is one of our existing customers for all of their different applications. You'll see this looks similar to what we were looking at, but they've chosen to go lighter colors. They've put their logo on here. In this case, we had said create new for applications. They've chosen to rename that to start new application. So, from a configuration perspective, this is highly configurable in terms of all of the verbiage and everything that you'd like to see. And I've got a couple different examples in here. This is their live system, so I haven't actually submitted any applications here. But if I go, for example, this swimming pool application, which I know is something similar to what you might do. Once again, I can see all of the information about this. The address, which you can either type in, we can leverage the GIS maps. I can just click on a building here, for example, and auto-populate the address for an application to be submitted. I can see all of the details here. So this is what they track. Let's say a swimming pool permit. These are all the details that they would like to collect. You can make certain fields required. You can have drop-down menu fields. You can have check boxes, whatever it may be. And all the information that goes into these drop-down menus is your information. So we configure this specifically to meet all of your specific needs in that particular case. Additionally, if you wanted to start a new application, I know you have about 6 or 7 applications out online. In this case, they have a number of different applications. So for the building department, for example, they might have a list of all kinds of different applications that you can submit from. For example, swimming pool down here. Or they might want to categorize different ones. So they have a public works department. In that particular case, they have a different list of applications. For example, sewer service, or maybe, for example, a subdivision sewer main, whatever it may be. But once they click on that, before even submitting the application, you can have help information out here, helping them kind of walk through the process, understanding what that's going to look like, the time frame, links to additional information, whatever that may be. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of some of the capabilities of this, but really, once again, with the goal being that this is going to be an improved user-friendly interface for your constituents, as well as more enhanced capabilities and new productivity tools for district staff as well. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those for you.
The only question I have, so I'm sorry. Go ahead. So this is user-friendly to staff and the applicant, person applying for the permit, right?
Yes. For example, right now, we get an email from the current portal, and then Robert opens up the email. He's got to see when they requested their inspection, and he's got to then respond to the email and send it back, and we go back and forth via email. And so this will reduce a lot of that. As far as updates, what happens, for example, is a customer or a contractor will submit an application. It takes about 2 weeks to review a set of drawings and get comments back. That's one of our metrics that you see every quarter that our general manager submits to you. What happens, for example, is we give them comments and then we don't hear anything back for, say, 2.5 weeks. And then let's say they missed a comment. We go back and forth a few times. Towards the end of the job, they say, why did you take so much time? And what we could show them now on the portal is we turned around, comments to you in 2 days here, 1 day there. And then they could see that their delay, it's their architect, it's their engineer, causes some of the delays. And then the nice thing that I'll say for Robert is inevitably the customers will pick, this is an ADU, but when we open up the drawings, it's much larger than that. It's a major remodel. They're going to add square footages to the main house, and they'll add an ADU and maybe convert their garage. So that's a whole different type of application. And by the time right now they make the submittal, it all gets populated because of the way they click it. It gets populated into our GIS. And then Robert needs to work with Centricity to repair all that misinformation that the customer put into our system. So I'm going to say we probably waste anywhere 20, 30 minutes with some of the customers that we're dealing with. The new system that Chris showed you should reduce or eliminate a lot of that going back and forth time.
But if I'm an applicant, if I'm the guy with the swimming pool and I want to get some status or updates on what's going on with the process, am I allowed to look at everybody else's
I don't know.
If my neighbor's doing something,
I don't know. Chris, can a customer see another status permit, or is it only, can they only see their own applications?
That's a great question. So in this application, you can only see the applications that you have submitted and that you are managing. There is a way to put out a public facing map that they could see limited information about other applications. But that would be something we would set up outside of this portal. That's something the district wanted to do.
And right now, a customer,
I don't want that.
yeah.
I want it contained, I could see two contractors going on and looking at other contractors' work to see what they're bidding or what the fees are. And as long as if I want to look at my permit, that's all I should be entitled to.
So some developers have multiple projects going on in the city right now. I've got one developer that's probably got 3 or 4 projects. They could look at all 3 or 4 of their projects.
Absolutely.
But and based on what Chris just said, they can only look at their projects.
Okay, that makes me a lot more comfortable.
I got a question. What's the status of EEC with this?
EEC has nothing to do with this part of the portal. They have to do with the database for the fats, oil, and grease information that we currently have. It's a slightly different program that has to do with restaurants and grease that gets discharged into our system. This has to do, the system that we just demonstrated to you has to do with customers applying for and accessing permits and permit information. We're asking for 2 slightly different improvements, one to do with fog and one to do with a public portal and the permitting system.
The next question, when it says City Works, is that the city of Costa Mesa?
No, City Works is what we call our asset City Works is a brand name like Kleenex, okay? It's an asset management system, and our asset management system has a permit module associated with it. Robert works with the permit module. John Gonzalez works with the work order management system module of that asset management system. And all that data that we collect and use in our system, both on the, I'll say, maintenance side of the house, the permitting side of the house, it all sits in the GIS system.
One more question. Okay,
Yeah.
when the city has a building thing going on at their house, do we get contact with knowing that's what's going in?
Not right now. However, we've been having meetings over the last 3 or 4 months with the city of Costa Mesa, and they actually have hard stops now for items that we identify as needing sewer permits, and they tell their customers, oh, you have to go over to the sanitary district, or you have to go to the water district. Newport Beach has been pretty good about doing that. Up until about 3 or 4 months ago, Costa Mesa they haven't had the system capabilities to do that. They can now do that.
Because that's what I'm concerned about, because there's so much construction going on in Mesa Verde. I mean, it's unbelievable, and I just want to make sure we're getting notice of all that construction and improvements.
I think the amount of building permits that get by without us looking at it is significantly increased. I think we used to probably get 20 a year, and I think we're down to below 5 now. I believe that's approximately where we're at.
That answers my questions.
Well, I was confused when I read this agenda report. The Centricity is a separate, is not EEC.
No, they are not.
With the EEC, they're the consultant working with the district and EEC.
Yes, and I guess I wasn't clear in my report. I will apologize for that, but EEC is a consultant that our agency has hired to help us manage our food service established permitting program. They work with Robert when there's a restaurant that is applying for a permit, and then they double check the menu, look at the kitchen equipment, and they help us determine if a grease interceptor or an under sink grease removal device is required at a restaurant.
Okay.
Where Centricity has been hired by us, and they help us manage our City Works asset management system. separate consultant.
Then my question is, for a $50,000 consultant hiring, doesn't Scott have the ability to approve that?
If it was just $50,000, yes, but based on the amount of the change order amendment amount, it was required because I think Scott's limitation is 10% or $15,000, whichever is greater, and $50,000 in the overall contract was a little more than that amount. So I have to come to you to get approval for this
Okay.
amendment to their contract.
I think from my perspective, in looking at what that Chris showed us, and then what you confirmed was if Robert's gonna save 20 minutes to an hour on every applicant,
Yeah.
that's gonna add up real quick. And if this can take care of that, it looks like it does. I mean, to disseminate the information on here seems to be pretty clear, and to be able to do it online, I think works pretty much in our favor.
This particular item is a $10,000 item, and then porting over the information from EEC to our system is the $40,000 item.
Go ahead, Mark.
So,
I'll call for a public comment. Just
any other questions or anything else?
Yeah, the reason I brought that up is because they're going to be importing the fog database mitigation into the
Yes.
system, right?
Yes.
So they're going to be working with the EC to get that.
Yes,
information.
we did budget money because EEC has to be a partner in this because they need to explain the data to us, give us their formatting so that we can port it over. So we'll have to pay them a small amount of money as well. But that's not part of this agenda item.
any other questions for Mark?
Yeah, I'm curious, did we collect competitive bids for this?
Not for these items. The reason we did not do competitive bids on this is because of the depth and breadth of knowledge that Centricity has. They've been setting up our system for the past 4 years, and this is an enhancement to that. We would pay a lot more money if we were to competitive bid this because somebody else would have to start from scratch.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll open the item up for public comment. We seem to have someone from the public. Go ahead.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne Wright. I wasn't planning on commenting on this agenda item, but just a little context for you guys. So I have founded 2 software companies, and I also worked for a venture capital firm where I was assessing, investing in startups and early stage tech platforms like this. And I'm concerned, frankly. I don't want to underestimate the amount of work that probably went into demoing this product, assessing our needs, maybe what we felt was missing from CityWorks and our current, processes. But also to note, I recently just had my ADU permitted. We had the sanitary district come by, Mesa Water. We did the whole city building department thing. And so I do think we're touching on a gap that is causing inefficiencies, which is unfortunately what we all know to be true. We have 3 districts that developers, architects have to go through in this city. And that does waste time, and I'm sure it makes having to track all these different stages really complicated. But when I look at this dashboard, frankly, it's just aggregating a lot of steps into one place. I don't see the $50,000 a year worth. Also, this seems to be a very premature company and platform. I Googled this company and it didn't even show up in Google searches. I then had to dig to find their website, and honestly, it looks like a template website. So the downside of using a third-party platform too is who are customers going to go to for customer support? Are they going to go to this company that doesn't have full-time 24/7 tech support? Are they then going to go to us, and then our people are supposed to walk through how their third-party platform works? I like that we can add some basic branding and stuff, but to be honest, it just looks really underdeveloped. Neither of the co-founders are software engineers themselves, so I'm assuming it's outsourced engineering. And when I dig into the fact that we're going to be paying $200 an hour up to 200 hours to set this up. That's $40,000. That's ridiculous, in my opinion. And I would rather, instead of seeing a team bio, I would rather hear residents and developers with referrals from all these other cities that they've, had pilot programs in. So those are the red flags that I'm seeing, and I don't know how we heard about this software, if they were, if they were sort of an outbound sales approach to us. But I feel like I'm not seeing really the scope of like the problems we're currently experiencing with our current platform. Have we explored some type of like complementary system with the city and with what Mesa Water's already using? Because that to me feels like the biggest inefficiency, at least on the customer side. I'm not doubting that there's probably ways that we can make our internal engineers' processes like more organized, but as far as like having an organized dashboard just for internal use, like there are softwares that are like $30 a month that I could honestly build this out for you with, hey, if you want to pay me 10K, I'll be happy to do it. But in my opinion, 50K a year is just egregious. And unfortunately, I'm just really not impressed with this tool. So that is it. Thank you.
Sure. You can make 10 comments if you want.
That was impressive because I didn't look at all that stuff. I was just looking at their Centricity's qualifications and past performance. And on the list of clients that they only have one sanitary district listed. And it shows that all they really provided for them was support and AMS, which I believe is Asset Management Solutions. And then they've, done things for Houston, Texas, and other cities, states. Not a lot of stuff in California, just 2. But I was wondering if Irvine Valley or our other local special districts, if we know kind of what platforms they're using and if their platforms tie into city. I know we have the luxury of having a water district here, which most cities don't have their own water district. Cheyenne brought up a lot of good points, but that was the only kind of thing that was a red flag for me, and that was on page 7 of their proposal from August of last year. So that's it.
Any comments?
Yeah. You see, back in late, I don't know, it was 2018, 2019, but we awarded a contract to EEC back then to install CityWorks, which is our asset management system. Several $100,000. It's an investment, and you don't just change, and you can't just plug any app into it. It is an actual linear asset management system. Just like Orange County Sanitation uses Maximo, we chose CityWorks because it's actually better for linear assets, sewer lines, gas lines, water lines. And we, through a competitive process, have invested, and that is our asset management system now, just like Maximo is for Orange County Sanitation Districts. Neither they nor we will probably go away from that, because if we decide to move to a different asset management system, we'll have to go through another competitive process and spend several hundreds of thousands of dollars setting up our assets and registries and everything, all the data that we capture. Now, we've learned that EEC was not a certified, a Trimble/CityWorks certified contractor when we selected them. And in fact, they didn't do us any favors by setting up our system properly. We then subsequently, in a competitive process, we took proposals from different consultants to, I'll say, repair our system and get it to be functional. And that's where Centricity came in. They, through a competitive process, was selected to perform the work. They are an accredited CityWorks provider. And of quite frankly, the only people I would suggest to the board to hire are people that are familiar with the CityWorks programming and credited by Trimble to do that work. So that's why we stuck with Centricity. You know, I can understand this that we're looking at is only the $10,000 part of the work. The 40,000 is all the work that's going to have to be done to move from EEC, the database, the FOG database, to our system. Anyway, she makes some valid points. It could seem very expensive, but this is a pretty robust system. As far as whether it can talk to Tessa at the city, I don't know that. We could probably contact them, but every time we talk to the city, they won't even give us an account to go into Tessa and be able to coordinate permit activities with them. They want to do the work and basically tell their customers, oh, now you got to go see the sanitary district. Now you got to go see the water district. So right now we don't have access to Tessa. So, I mean, we could explore that, you know, and go in that direction and see what we can do. But I don't know if there are methods for our asset management system and the city system to interact with one another.
I feel like this needs further investigation. I feel like we need some competitive bids, only looking into one agency to help us do this. I understand the migration is a big deal, but I would really like to see a process of comparing different companies to help us do this.
I would agree with that also.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. So, I mean, you've heard some of the concerns from both the
Mhm.
public and the board. Is this an item, we're not under an urgency with this item?
No, we're not in an urgency. We can go ahead and I would suggest at least moving forward with the database. If you want me to look into other alternatives for, I'll say a public portal, but I don't think we're going to find much for $10,000 that is CityWorks, you know, certified applications.
Well, let's remove that doubt.
Sure.
Whatever, then I take it the board is in favor of continuing this item for further study?
Yeah, and I just want to clarify, you said something about there's a part of this, the migration is $40,000,
Mhm.
right? So I just want to be clear, I also want I would like to see a competitive bid on that too, not just the latter part. That's 10,000.
I'm happy to do, I serve at the board's pleasure, just like our general manager, and I'll proceed with doing that. But I think that what we're going to find is, again, when we go to the CityWorks certified providers, because Centricity is embedded in our system for the last 4 years, they're the only ones that know the programming. Everybody else is going to have to spend more money to do what we want them to do. So, but I'm happy to do that if that's what you choose to do.
I think we need to try and find that out.
Okay,
Thank you,
Okay.
Mark.
very good.
All right. Anything else for us this afternoon, Mark?
No,
Thank you for your reports.
thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Mark Davis. No items for us this evening on treasurer's report. Counselor, any words of wisdom for us this evening?
I'm not sure it rises to that level, but I do have a couple of comments. You know, about a year ago, I was mentioning to the board and staff at one of these under attorney's comments that there was a new U.S. Supreme Court case that it struck down the Chevron standard, which was the one that said you have to give deference to an administrative agency in matters in which they are doing various things, including enforcing their laws against a government entity like us. And I said, this sounds like a big case and probably doesn't think that it has any application to us, but it could well in the state water resources regulations and their enforcement actions and all of that with when we have a sewer spill. And it didn't take long. The court just last week issued a decision in which they did bring that case into play and over the total toxicity standard of water quality, and it's already in the mix now about, you know, how much deference you have to give and all of that, and it's right in the very setting we thought it would be in. So that I guess was self-fulfilling prophecy. And then there's two other cases that came down recently, and I'll give you more information on that. It just came out, but there's like 3 cases that came down recently that kind of affect this agency. And the other one is, you know, big case, the Nolan Dolan case about when is it a takings when you require somebody to give something or dedicate something to government, and they just rehashed that whole test. So we'll get you some information on that too. The third one was another case down in South County and Southern California down to San Diego area. And that was about, it was kind of a Prop 218 case, but Mesa, it was a water district case, and Mesa Consolidated filed an amicus brief in it. So it's like, wow, you know, they're down there supporting that agency. So anyway, we'll get you more information on all of it, but it's very interesting that these cases have come full circle, and now it applies to things that we do. And it's the, you know, where the road hits the road when the Supreme Court makes a decision, and it filters down to us and how we operate. So more information coming. I know that was kind of vague, but it's pretty interesting, and we live in interesting times.
Yeah. Anything else for us? Thank you. Okay, then we'll move to local meetings. And are you doing the Orange County Sand District?
We'll be meeting this Wednesday.
Sarfa, anything?
No meeting this last month.
Summertime seems to do that.
I mean, next week.
ISDOC, Independent Special Districts. Did attend the executive committee last week, and it was interesting. Before I could say anything about Arlene's retirement, Al Netterhood from MODOC jumped on to announce that Arlene had retired, and he wanted everyone to know that he would be running for Arlene's seat on the CSDA Board of Directors. Was there to get ISDOC's support for his Now, I understand that her seat on CSDA will be filled by appointment, and that the two, Scott, you and I have talked about this, but the two remaining Southern Division directors, Joe McKenzie and Don Bartz from Phelan Hills Community Services, they get to pick Arlene's replacement.
Those two people.
Those two, yeah, that's my
They
understanding.
probably recommend to the board.
They'll recommend to the board who they think should, but I think Director Netterhood's gonna go after it pretty strongly. So we'll see that. The other thing with ISDOC is they still have an opening on their executive committee for a secretary, if anybody would like to take on that role. And they also need a third vice president, because the guy from the Placentia Library District resigned. So if anybody has a burning desire, let me know and I'll pass that on to ISDOC for you. Next item, CSDA, the Special Districts Association. We'll have a better report after next week. Conference starts on Monday for some of us. I think our general manager is teaching a course on Monday, correct? And we'll be in Monterey. Bring a jacket. I checked the weather already. It's going to be chilly. Special District Risk Management Authority, nothing to report. We did have a board meeting this month, but it were all clerical items, nothing of substance to tell you. Other meetings, anybody else?
I'll submit mine in writing.
Okay. Bob?
I was gonna report on the Waco meeting. I've written it up. I forgot to bring it. Basically, it was, the meeting that I was focused on was the evolution of water usage by agriculture in Orange County. And basically, in the 1800s, there was still water flowing in the Santa Ana River, so they could take water off and irrigate their crops. As that slowed down, then the Colorado River came into play and they used that water. And about that time, then Orange County Water District began to manage the system, and they had to create a barrier because of the large amount of water being pumped out of the groundwater. Citrus has always been the largest ag user, and I think remains the largest ag user in the county, although the groves are a lot smaller. So I thought it was an interesting meeting.
You know, it was an interesting meeting. I mean, dealing with the agriculture here and, you know, growing up in Orange County like I did and being as old as I am. I remember the county being totally agricultural. I mean, the lima bean fields here in Costa Mesa, and this is going to sound terrible. When I was in second grade at Wilson Elementary School, we went on a field trip, right? And they took us to the Segerstrom truck farm. And it was vegetable packing. Segerstrom was, you know, right over here.
Yeah.
And we watched them bag up celery and carrots and again, I can't remember. I can't believe I remember things from second grade, you know. Anyway.
But
Yeah.
another thing they brought up is most of the land that's being farmed is they rent it. They don't own the land. That's one of the things from the Waco meeting also.
Yeah.
Which is kind of surprising.
You know, the one thing they didn't talk about in this agriculture was the strawberries. You know, Garden Grove was like strawberry heaven.
Yeah. Well, they only mentioned the largest water user crop was citrus.
Citrus.
But they also said the strawberries are still big in the county.
The biggest strawberries around. Okay, any other meetings? Anything
I
else?
will also be submitting mine in writing.
All right, nothing else? No old business or new business? Oral communications, director comments? Just a reminder that we will meet at 2:00 tomorrow, and it is an officially registered meeting of the district. So we will be under Brown Act regulations and all of that stuff tomorrow at 2:00.
What's this? Can you tell us what the setting is, Alani? Are we going to set up here like a regular meeting?
The board will remain at the dais. Arlene will also be at her seat for one more time. And we'll have chairs all lined up facing the screen. Presenters will be presenting from the front. And we'll have photo opportunity after presentations.
Can you tell them about the parking spot, what the plan is for parking?
So we will be reserving spots for the board and other elected officials that are RSVP'd for the event. So we'll have the front row reserved for those who are presenting. We'll put RSVPs out there for whoever else needs to be here in the parking lot.
And I would just remind, if you guys could keep your comments to somewhere between 15 and 30 minutes. But the agenda was posted today, I think, or
Yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, it was?
Mhm. Right, we had 5 speakers that making presentations. Now we're gonna have a 6th. Is that
We have 5 official speakers at the time that we posted the agenda. We've since been made aware of several more. So we do have item number 6 that is open for all other speakers not listed that would wish to make comment.
Do we do our comments before or after the?
CMSD's comments will be first.
All right,
Our agency comments will be first.
absolutely. It should be a fun afternoon. Thank you to staff for doing the parade the other day. That was, once the neighbors who didn't know what the heck was going on were soothed, everything was okay.
Plus they couldn't get out of their driveways.
Couldn't get out of their driveways because of our Vector trucks, but I will tell you that Arlene was, I've known Arlene my whole life, literally. I've never seen her cry, and she was crying. It was very sweet. It was really nice. So, Okay, any other comments, staff, anything? All right, thank you. And if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn to our next meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Thank you. Thanks, staff. Good job. Okay, we're adjourned.